Two men walk into the same office building on a Monday morning in January. Both are 43 years old. Both have worked at the same company for almost 15 years. Both make roughly the same salary, somewhere around $120,000 a year. Both have a wife, two kids, a mortgage, and a car payment. By every visible measure, their lives look identical. Fast forward 11 years. One of them retires at 54 with enough money to never work again. The other one is 54 years old, still sending out resumes after a layoff. Watching his savings drain to cover a mortgage he refinanced twice. Same building, same salary, same decade. Completely different outcomes. What happened in between wasn't luck. It wasn't a stock tip. It wasn't an inheritance. It was a series of decisions made in their 40s. Decisions so quiet, so unremarkable at the time, that neither man would have called them important. This isn't about saving more money in your 40s. It's about understanding that your 40s are the decade where the financial decisions you make stop being reversible. In your 20s, you can recover from almost anything. Bad investment? You have 40 years to make it back. In your 30s, you still have room to course correct. But your 40s are different. This is the decade where time stops being your ally and starts becoming the thing you're racing against. The mistakes you make here don't get erased. They get compounded in both directions. I'm going to show you the rules that separate the people who walk into their 50s with options from the people who walk in with regret. Most of these rules have nothing to do with how much you earn. They have everything to do with how you think. Rule 1. Here's something almost nobody says out loud. The more money that flows through your hands, the easier it becomes to lose track of where it's going. In your 40s, you're likely earning more than you ever have. But lifestyle has a way of expanding exactly as fast as income does. The bigger house, the newer car, the vacations that feel earned after years of hustling. Picture a man earning $15,000 a month. He's not reckless. He's not in debt. But his expenses have quietly crept up to $14,000 a month. He feels financially fine because there's no crisis, no warning sign, no red flag. But he's saving almost nothing relative to what he's capable of saving. The hidden consequence isn't the spending itself. It's the gap between what he could be building and what he's actually building. That gap, left uncorrected for 10 years, isn't just a missed opportunity. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars that simply evaporate. Not because he made one bad decision, but because he never made a decision at all. But here's what most people miss. The danger isn't overspending. It's comfortable spending, the kind that never feels like a problem because nothing ever forces you to look at it. Rule 2. Most people understand that starting to invest later means less money. What they don't understand is how much less. The math of compounding isn't linear. It's exponential. And the difference between investing seriously at 35 versus investing seriously at 45 isn't a small gap. It's often the difference between retiring and never retiring. Consider two people who both decide to invest $500 a month at an average return of 8%. One starts at 35. The other starts at 45. By 65, the person who started at 35 will have roughly triple the money of the person who started 10 years later. Not because they invested 3 times as much, but because their money had 3 extra decades worth of doubling power in the most important early years. It gets worse. Most people in their 40s don't think they're behind. They think they still have time. And that feeling, that quiet, comfortable sense of, I'll get serious about this soon, is the single most expensive emotion in personal finance. Rule 3. Nobody decides to inflate their lifestyle. It happens one small upgrade at a time. A slightly nicer car, a slightly bigger house, private school instead of public school. None of these decisions feel reckless in the moment. Each one feels earned, reasonable, deserved. But here's the psychological trap. Once your spending rises to match your income, it almost never falls back down, even if your income later drops. Researchers call this the ratchet effect. Your spending ratchets upward and locks into place, regardless of whether your income can sustain it forever. A woman earning $200,000 a year doesn't feel rich. She feels normal because her spending rose right alongside her raises. If her income drops through a layoff, a recession, a forced career change, she's not just losing income. She's losing the ability to maintain a life she built around an assumption that never should have been permanent. I'm not done yet. The real danger isn't the lifestyle itself. It's that by your 40s, this lifestyle has become identity. Cutting back doesn't just feel like a budget adjustment. It feels like losing status in front of neighbors, coworkers, even your own children. Rule 4. In your 20s and 30s, your income trajectory usually moves upward. Promotions come, raises come. There's a sense of momentum. But for most people, somewhere in their mid to late 40s, that trajectory flattens. Not because they stopped working hard, but because companies increasingly favor younger, cheaper talent for upward mobility. And the specialized skills that once made someone valuable can quietly become outdated. This is rarely announced. There's no meeting where your boss tells you, this is your peak. It just happens. Promotions slow, then stop. Raises become smaller, then disappear. And the person experiencing it often doesn't notice until they compare their trajectory to where they expected to be. The hidden cost here is brutal. Many people build their entire retirement plan on the assumption that their income will keep rising indefinitely. When it plateaus a decade earlier than expected, that assumption silently breaks. And most people don't update their plan because nothing forced them to. Rule 5. In your 40s, your body starts sending bills that your 20s and 30s let you ignore. Routine doctor visits become more frequent. Conditions that used to be hypothetical become real. And here's what almost nobody connects directly to their finances. Every dollar that goes toward unexpected medical costs, gym memberships you suddenly need, or specialists you didn't plan for, is a dollar pulled directly from the years when your investments should be compounding the hardest. A man who could have invested an extra $300 a month instead spends it managing health issues that, frankly, could have been mitigated 10 years earlier with attention rather than neglect. The financial cost of poor health in your 40s isn't just the medical bill. It's the opportunity cost of money that should have been working for decades instead. Rule 6. This one is uncomfortable because it's wrapped in love. Parents in their 40s often start contributing to college funds, helping with a teenager's car, covering costs they didn't have to cover when they were young. Every individual decision feels generous and justified. But here's the part nobody talks about. Every dollar redirected toward a child's expenses in your 40s is a dollar removed from the most critical compounding window of your own retirement. And unlike retirement savings, you cannot borrow your way back into your 40s later. There's no loan for more compounding time. A couple who spends $60,000 over several years supporting their children's education may feel like good parents. And they are. But if that same $60,000 had stayed invested instead, it could have grown into several $100,000 by the time they retired. The emotional choice is understandable. The financial consequence is permanent. Rule 7. In your 20s, financial comparison is mostly harmless. Everyone's broke together. By your 40s, comparison becomes corrosive because the gaps are now real, visible, and emotionally loaded. You see a colleague with a vacation home, a friend posting from a cruise, a sibling who seems to have made it. What you don't see is their debt, their retirement account, their marriage, their stress levels at 2 a.m. Social comparison in your 40s pushes people towards spending decisions designed to maintain appearances rather than build security. Because losing status in front of peers feels, psychologically, like losing something real, even when nothing tangible has actually been lost. Nobody talks about this, but the quiet financial damage caused by keeping up appearances in your 40s often exceeds the damage caused by any single bad investment. Rule 8. Most people peak their formal learning in their 20s and treat their 40s as a decade of execution rather than growth. But the economy doesn't slow down to match. Skills that were valuable 10 years ago quietly erode in value. And the people who keep investing in new skills, not necessarily a new degree, but real, applied competence, are the ones whose income continues climbing into their 50s, while their peers flatten or decline. The hidden tragedy is that this decline feels gradual and invisible from the inside. Nobody feels themselves becoming less valuable. They just notice one day that opportunities they expected never arrived. Now go back to those two men in the office building. The first man, by 43, had already automated his investing, kept his lifestyle roughly flat, even as his income grew, and treated every raise as fuel for his future rather than fuel for his present. He didn't notice his career plateau because he'd built skills outside his job that gave him leverage elsewhere. When his company downsized at 51, he had options. He had buffer. He had a decade of compounding already working in his favor. The second man did everything that felt reasonable in the moment. He upgraded his lifestyle in step with his raises. He helped his kids generously. He assumed his income would keep climbing, so he never adjusted when it didn't. He compared himself to neighbors who looked successful and adjusted his spending to match an image, not a reality. None of it felt reckless. All of it was quietly devastating. By 54, one man had freedom. The other had explanations. The difference wasn't intelligence. It wasn't even income. It was a decade of small, invisible decisions that either compounded in his favor or quietly worked against him. And by the time either man could clearly see the results, it was too late to go back and choose differently. Your 40s don't announce their importance. They pass like any other decade. Work, family, weekends, repeat. But underneath that ordinary rhythm, this is the decade where your financial future gets decided, whether you're paying attention to it or not.